Here are a few of the worst submechanophobia images I've ever seen. Part 3. This is apparently real. I don't know where it is. Apparently it's in Italy, or it looks like it's in Italy. I might be completely making that up. But here's it from another angle. Could you imagine swimming in a boat and seeing that? I don't know how deep it is underwater. I don't know if it's held up by pipes. I don't know if it's held up by scaffolding. I don't know if it's just the whole arm. I don't know if it's a whole sculpture. Terrifying. Here are a few of the worst submechanophobia images I've ever seen. Part 1. Why is a T-Rex under the water? This grosses me out on a guttural level, how it is like out of the water and then it slowly goes into the water. You could not pay me $1 million to go and try to go down those stairs that are in the water. Absolutely not. This one is more of a liminal spaces, but I have a huge phobia of slides and the imagination of going down that slide and going into that dark, deep hole. I don't know if this is AI or if it's real, but if it's real, that pool is about 10 or so feet deep. And the fact that you can go, I hate it. This one, I hate everything about it. Just take it in. Imagine you're swimming in this pool and you look up and you see these gigantic tentacles that are like 5 times as big as you. Nope. This is part 5 of some of the most horrifying submechanophobia things I've ever seen. This is called the drowning girl. She is absolutely massive, as you can see, so that also triggers some megalophobia. She is in Bilbao, Spain, and she is absolutely massive, just sticking out of the water like that. The drowning girl is supposed to spark a discussion about rising water levels, global warming, things like that, but it is just absolutely horrifying, just chilling in that water like that. Could you ever go near this thing? Look how massive it is being lowered into the water with a crane. Ugh, heebie-jeebies, I can't. This is part 6 of some of the most horrific submechanophobia things I've ever seen. This is the scariest thing I have ever seen. Later in this TikTok, I'm going to show you my first reaction to it. But this is a gigantic anglerfish that is underwater at the Finding Nemo ride in California at Disney World. Now you go through the ride and you can look through these little peepholes. I've never actually been, and I would probably have a heart attack if I did. This is what it looks like out of the water. It is a massive statue and the eyes glow. And this is my reaction when I first saw it in 2021. This is part 7 of some of the most horrific submechanophobia things I've ever seen. This is a giant shark statue that is in the bottom of Lake Neuchâtel in Switzerland. Apparently it was used as a movie prop and they just left it at the bottom of the lake. This is part 8 of some of the most horrifying submechanophobia things I've ever seen. This is a Jason Voorhees statue in the bottom of a Minnesota lake. It's completely life-size and just chilling down there. Scuba divers like to go down there and take selfies with it. How would you feel if you were swimming in a pitch dark lake and you just shined a light and this thing is down there? This is part 10 of some of the most horrifying submechanophobia things I've ever seen. Y'all know him, the Jaws ride. This picture is disgusting with the track that it used to be on. Just seeing all of those animatronic parts under the water makes me queasy. Just imagine falling in. This is part 11 of some of the most horrifying submechanophobia things I've ever seen. This guy is from the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride that used to be in Disney. He's massive, he's underwater. Check out how big he is compared to this human-sized animatronic. The ride was abandoned and it sat down there for years. About 30 feet long, just rotting away. Quite literally. This is part 12 of some of the most horrifying submechanophobia things I've ever seen. Y'all know her, the Titanic. Now, if you don't know, she actually cut in half. So this is only about 600 feet of her, but the entirety of it was about 900 feet, which is about 300 meters. So it was absolutely huge. Here's one of her propellers underwater. Yay! This is what the Great Hall looked like before and after. This is part 13 of some of the most horrifying submechanophobia things I have ever seen. This is a parasaur at the Jurassic Park ride. As you can see the mechanics under him. Thanks, I hate it. He's a big boy. He's about 5-6 feet when fully out of the water. He comes up out of the water and sprays you with water. So much fun. This is part 14 of some of the most horrifying submechanophobia things I've ever seen. This is probably the creepiest thing I have ever seen. It's around a 15-foot tall animatronic that comes out of the water. He resides in Italy at Gardaland on the Corasari ride. This is part 15 of some of the most horrifying submechanophobia things I've ever seen. Planes should not be underwater. Everything about this image viscerally disturbs me. Like, look how big that is compared to that tiny little human. It's like a giant blue whale underwater, but fake. You couldn't pay me enough to do this. Could you do this? I would be swimming the opposite direction. This is part 16 of some of the most horrifying submechanophobia things I have ever seen. This is Ocean Atlas, and she's in Nassau, the Bahamas. Look how big she is compared to this human being. She's supposed to symbolize that she has the weight of the water, weight of the ocean on her shoulder. Look at this photo of this girl just sitting in her hand. Look how massive that thing is underwater. Could you go near this thing? I could not. This is part 17 of some of the most horrifying submechanophobia things I have ever seen. This is a giant thing of Monstro at the Pinocchio ride in Disneyland. So I have a massive phobia of whales, and the megalophobia aspect of it being so massive and you going through the ride like you're going through its throat. Look how big it is compared to these people. It is also an animatronic. Its eye moves. Would you be able to go through this tunnel on this ride? This is part 18 of some of the most horrifying submechanophobia things I have ever seen. This is the Phantom cruise line that used to be at the Disneyland Paris resort. It was a special Halloween thing where they had this gigantic, thank God it didn't move, it was not an animatronic, but it was this gigantic statue that pulled this riverboat along. Like, imagine that you're just chilling and you see this gigantic thing pulling this huge riverboat. This picture is horrifying. Imagine that thing coming at you in the fog. Look how massive it is compared to these little people right here. Also, fun fact, it's abandoned. I couldn't find any pictures of the actual creepy phantom thing, but this is the boat that it used to be attached to, the Mark Twain, which apparently is still sitting in that water, just covered, decaying in that water. So if I had to guess, I think that giant creepy phantom statue is probably in a warehouse somewhere, just rotting away.